In the world of basketball, the NBA hosts the highest tiers of athletes who not just soar above the rest, but are expected to perform every day towards the goals of winning each game and eventually taking it all the way to the NBA championship. At this level of competition, players are expected to be at their peak form, able to play at the highest abilities against the best opponents. Each team makes sure that players know their roles each time they come to the floor. In the same aspect, each player has the utmost responsibility to keep themselves in top shape, not just to abide by the physical stipulation requirements in their contracts, but to be able to overcome the strains and rigors of the physicality of the game and avoid unwanted injury due to personal negligence. While it's true that maintaining top physical form is as important as gaining the skills required for a professional baller, some players who either came into the league as such or eventually let themselves go have had a plumper outline compared to most. And while there are some distinct advantages to having a heavier structure towards the physicality of the game, having that added weight can be quite burdensome and can take quite a toll even for athletes in their prime. This is Sports Surge, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the fattest NBA players ever. Before we jump into it, thumbs up, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future updates. Balar is a Canadian giant of a player who was a god-smacking 7 feet 5 inches, making him the 6th tallest player in NBA history. Nicknamed Slim Balar, but certainly not for his figure, because Balar was one of the biggest players to ever play the game. Yes, he was tall, but he also weighed 360 pounds. The big man was picked up by the Sacramento Kings in 2015, but was waived after 2 preseason games. After a few stints with the D-League, Balar signed for a 10-day contract with the Kings, making history checking in the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the first player of Indian descent to play in an NBA game. Michael Sweetney had the potential to make a good run in the NBA, having been dominant in his collegiate career to be a Naismith College Player of the First-Year finalist and a candidate for the John R. Wooden Award. The prospective forward was drafted by the New York Knicks in 2003, but was subsequently traded to Chicago after failing to leave an impression. At 6'8" and almost 300 pounds, the big man battled with weight issues, even at one time reaching almost 350 pounds, and was eventually cut from the Bulls. Bryant Scalabrine was a 6'9" power forward who played with the New Jersey Nets, the Boston Celtics, and the Chicago Bulls. In his 12-year professional basketball career, he even won an NBA ring with the Celtics in 2008. The man, who was dubbed the White Mamba by his fans in Chicago, also had the appeal of appearing out of shape, with his peak playing weight going upwards of 250 pounds. After deciding he's had enough of his top physical form, Scalabrine went on to become part of Mark Jackson's Golden State Warriors coaching staff and is currently a TV analyst for the Boston Celtics. Greg Ostertag is a familiar face on the court. He's the big, clumsy white baller who can't help but trip over himself due to his size and girth. Ostertag, who played for the Utah Jazz for most of his 12-year career, was 7 feet 2 inches, while weighing on the lanky side of 280 pounds. Ostertag was a fan favorite, however, and was a perfect fit in the Stockton to Malone era, with his size being put to great use on defense. Bryant Reeves played for the Vancouver Grizzlies from 1995 until 2001 and was nicknamed the Big Country, not just because he grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, but because he stood 7 feet tall and weighed between 275 pounds to 300 pounds. Coming into the league, Reeves was primed to be a dominant center in the NBA and performed well in his earlier seasons with the Grizzlies. However, in his 4th year in the league, he started to have weight control problems, and injuries began to take a toll on Big Country, significantly reducing his minutes of play per game. In a preseason game in the fall of 2001, Reeves experienced severe back pain and had to be carried off the court using 2 connected stretchers by 8 teammates, leading him to retire from the league halfway through the 2001-2002 season. Jerome James had quite the basketball resume, from being the national leader in blocks per game in college basketball to being part of the Harlem Globetrotters and eventually playing professionally in Europe and in the NBA. The man who was drafted by the Sacramento Kings and later for the Seattle Supersonics and the New York Knicks had exceptional abilities for a man of his size. Nicknamed Big Snacks, James was 7 feet and had a listed weight of 300 pounds. If you look at his side-by-side from the time he played for Seattle and him suiting up as a Chicago Bull, despite never having played for the team due to injury, you can see the huge size difference. Charles Barkley. While Sir Charles is still much loved and revered to this day, good old Chuck can't escape his daunting list. While the 1993 NBA MVP had his share of accolades and was always considered a top contender in the league, even among the gods of game of his time, Barkley also had a recognizable shape and game for a majority of his professional playing career. In his later years, say around the time he was playing for the Houston Rockets in the late 90s, when he became known as the round mound of rebound, was when his dream form left him. The 6'6" power forward, who usually held his weight around 230 to 250 pounds, was at 300 pounds in the latter part of his career. Despite the jests and heckles, Sir Charles remains to be one of the NBA's most dominant players, who impacted the league when he was playing and continues to do so as an opinionated analyst on TV. Shaquille O'Neal. The man who defined the outstanding big man in the NBA was undeniably Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq came into the league standing at 7'1" and weighing around 285 pounds, making this mean muscle machine an unstoppable force in the NBA. Throughout his 19 years in the NBA, he won championships and numerous awards, breaking backboards and becoming one of the most popular and loved ambassadors of the game. He was strong and athletic, even with his 22 shoe size. But towards the end of his career, Shaq veered away from strenuous training and proper fitness, even reaching 360 pounds in weight. The weight increased, however, as he remained to be one dominant force on the court. Eddie Curry. Prior to entering the NBA, Eddie Curry was considered as one of the best high school basketball players in the country, having been given the Illinois Mr. Basketball Award in 2001. The 18-year-old would be drafted by the Chicago Bulls and would play with the team for 4 seasons. However, the 7-foot center had controversies about his heart conditions, especially during his time with the New York Knicks, where he showed up at camp 25 pounds overweight at 325 pounds, then immediately injured himself by tweaking his hamstring. Oliver Miller. The heaviest player in NBA history award goes to Oliver Miller, standing 6 feet 9 inches and weighing a whopping 380 pounds. The colossal figure played for 9 seasons in the NBA, owing to his dedication and work ethic, and the fact that he bounced from one team to another in the decade of the NBA big men. Miller was known as a talented center with great passing skills who averaged 12.9 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 2.9 assists, 1.9 blocks, and 1.4 steals per game at his peak in 1996. Despite the heavy baggage, Miller was a formidable player on the floor. So what do you think about the fattest NBA players ever? We'd love to hear what you think about them by commenting down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for future videos. Until next time.